Hello, World Economic News for Thursday. United States of America. This is quite funny and, well, interesting anyway. Serious. Interesting. Going back to the year 2000, coming out of the dot-com crash, the CBO over in the United States projected forward how government spending would be. And that bottom line on the chart below is the CBO projection from January 2001. You can see it cuts the 0% line in about 2008. In other words, the budget would be balanced. No, not just the budget was balanced, but everything's paid back by 2008. And by now, the United States is in huge surplus, probably with so much trillions spare that they'd be lending it to China to help out that primitive country. Anyway, what went wrong are all the colours there with all their descriptions. That big red one at the bottom, technical and economic changes, are tax cuts, I believe, or let's say not getting revenue in that they thought they were going to get revenue in. The revenue that never arrived is that great big red one. The purpley one, that's the tax cuts. The special 2001 and 2003 tax cuts in specifically. And up at the top, that grey one, that's quite big. That increases the net interest due to legislative changes. More tax cuts, basically. So, the best laid schemes of mice and men aft gang agley. A different scenario ensued. Anyway, I'll leave that with you if you want to pause and have a look. But you can see that you can't rely on humans' projections of what is going to happen in the future. Right, we'll go to the New York Times and a David Leonhardt article entitled "A Mission Not Yet Accomplished." And I'll pull all this out. At the end of this year, about 225 billion of temporary tax cuts and emergency jobless benefits are scheduled to expire. These provisions were part of the compromise bill in last year's lame duck congressional session that also extended the Bush tax cuts. The Bush tax cuts were extended through 2012, however, while the other provisions, including a payroll tax cut for households and tax cut for expanding businesses, expire at the end of 2011. Given the legitimate concerns about the deficit, many members of Congress will want to let these temporary tax cuts lapse, but if the economy remains weak, continuing them for one more year will make sense. Their economic impact is not small. Moody's Analytics estimated that the economy would have 1.1 million more jobs at the end of 2012 if the tax cuts and jobless benefits were extended. Yet their impact on the long-term debt is minimal. Tiny changes in Medicare could more than pay a one-time $225 billion bill. I'm glad I'm not the one sorting that out, and I'm quite glad I'm the one that says that they won't be changing those temporary tax cuts except by extending them further, and probably inventing some new ones. This is vaguely interesting. It's inequality reduction via taxes and government transfers 2000-2005 in these various countries. In other words, how they try and get people to bring that gap down between the rich and the poor. It's the Gini coefficient one, And you can see the white dots up the side there. The way taxes are levied in all those countries: Finland, Sweden, Germany, Denmark, United Kingdom, Norway, Australia, Netherlands, Canada and the United States. Taxes basically the same when it comes to trying levelling the playing field. But transfers are used in very varying amounts. Almost nothing comparatively in the United States, but a little bit more in Canada. And going up, the Netherlands makes Canada and the United States look very small, and then other countries make Netherlands look small, and we can see going all the way up to Germany, Sweden and Finland at the top there, that use transfers to try and keep inequality as little as possible. Next chart is income inequality increased in most OECD countries. This is from mid-80s to the late 2000s. So quite a lot of 25 years maybe. And we can see over on the far left the most unequal: Mexico, United States, Israel and the United Kingdom. And over that, let's call it 20-year period, Mexico, United States, Israel and the United Kingdom have all gone up in their amount of inequality, as have all the other countries on that list. Countries like Denmark, Norway, Czech Republic, Sweden and Finland are lower than the very unequal ones, but have all gone up in their own way, with countries like Sweden, Finland, Germany and New Zealand going up quite a long way in their amount of difference between the rich and the poor. And on the decreasing side, Turkey and Greece have made small efforts, with France, Hungary and Belgium staying about the same. Right, let's have a change of gear. I've been pretty sickened by what has been thrown out over all the economics pages about Bin Laden and how that can affect the markets and all sorts of yibba jabber about Bin Laden. But I just brought this out because it's one of the ones that I just saw, and I just, where you see something you go, that's not right. Bin Laden dead. Obama says justice is done. Washington, Al-Qaeda mastermind Bin Laden was killed Sunday. Daring raid. Pakistan. Barack Obama declared justice has been done a decade after the September 11 attacks. The death of the reviled US enemy after a huge manhunt sparked an explosion of joy across the United States, especially in New York and Washington, the targets of the worst ever attacks against the US mainland in 2001. 2001? It's only Yahoo. But no, this is AFP. Justice. They've had 10 years looking for him, presumably. If they say 2001, whatever, they've had many years of looking for him, but they don't seem to have had a court case. Generally, when you have justice being done, a court case is involved somewhere along the line, and couldn't they have done that? Had a court case and tried him in absentia, is that the thing? Tried and maybe convicted in absentia, so everybody will have seen what the man had done and how guilty he was. But no. Right, Der Spiegel online. German boom fuels inflation angst. And quite interesting, this could hot up. Inflation overshadowing recovery. This is all from a typical Der Spiegel long detailed article. Normally known for its judicious reporting, the British business daily Financial Times has already recognised the first signs of overheating. That's in the German economy. The paper writes that industrial production in Germany is growing at an annual rate of almost 15%, putting it in the same league as China. The delight over a robust growth and falling unemployment has turned sour, says some crowd, because of the inflation that's coming with it that they are scared of. I've just picked these chapter headings and giving you the first paragraph under the chapter heading. Germany warrants key interest rate of 3%. If the Bundesbank were still in charge of monetary policy for Germany as it was before the introduction of the euro, it would have long since raised interest rates far more aggressively. In the current economic situation, a base lending rate, that's more Churchill, in the vicinity of 3% would be entirely appropriate, says some other kraut. And more, I would have thought at this stage of the game, more than 3%, nearer 5%, but that's my guess. If he says 3 it is. Another one, property boom in top German cities. The German real estate market is booming in Hamburg, Munich, Dusseldorf and Berlin. Large brokerage firms, etc., etc. You get the idea. I think we've mentioned this before, haven't we? Yes, we have. Smug. And it's going to be interesting to see how much schadenfreude we get in a few years' time when there's a boom and bust in Germany, if we get that far. Right, Dylan Grice, this looks like Societe Generale via the Financial Times. This is the 70s, the great inflation of the 70s, and how well you will have done investing in cash, equities or bonds. Basically, you end up in the same place, whichever ones you used. Cash, equity or bonds. So he's saying, well, you might as well use cash because it's less dangerous than equities and bonds. You just get to the same place but safer. But that's, learning from the 70s. And another learning from the great inflation of Turkey, 76 to year 2000. And basically you were best off in something that they're calling liquidity, which was 75% cash and 25% gold. And they call that, so maybe that's the best way to really bulletproof your portfolio. And what my friend fund manager Tolly Deeden calls sacred savings of your clients, a blend of cash, gold and willingness to hold them until compelling values emerge elsewhere. Michael Pettis, China slowing. Did I pull something out from this? Yes, I did. Last one. And anyway, interesting this. I've done a lot, but it's interesting this one. And anyway, as I've said many times before, I don't think interest rate increases are likely to have a major impact on constraining inflation. We're in China, putting up interest rates in China. I know this sounds heretical, but in order to argue that raising rates will reduce price pressure, we have to explain the transmission mechanism. In the US, as I see it, raising interest rates tends to reduce household wealth, which is mostly in the form of stocks, bonds and real estate. Raise the cost of consumer financing. We're fine with this. Both of those things put downward pressure on household demand and so on inflation. Classic way. What Germany wants to do is hike the rates up, and it'll do all those things to crush down inflation. But it doesn't work that way in China. There is almost no consumer financing, and since most Chinese savings are in the form of bank deposits, raising rates actually makes Chinese households feel richer, not poorer. So how exactly is raising rates going to reduce inflationary pressures? Might it not actually increase it? Quite interesting. N'est-ce pas? See you tomorrow. Bye.